Hello everybody, welcome to the channel if you're new. So this video in particular is going to be specific to the state of Maryland for insurance. So for the next 6 videos will be specific to Maryland. And so if you're not going for the Maryland insurance exam, then you can skip these lessons. We'll be sure to label them as such so that you don't waste your time. But in the future, we are going to have the life insurance lessons, which is a lot. I'll explain. See this? Types of insurance policies. And then we will have health insurance. So you want to definitely come back for those. But if you're not in the state of Maryland, you sure don't need to sit and listen to Maryland videos if you're not in this state. So I will see everybody on the next lessons. For those who are staying tuned, stay tuned.
State Insurance Regulation. Maryland Insurance Administration. Insurance Commissioner, Duties and Powers, Sex. 2 to 101 2, 2 to 102A, 2 to 103A, 4, 2 to 108, 2 to 204B, 1, 16 to 601. The Maryland Insurance Commissioner, is the head of the Maryland Insurance Administration, which is responsible for ensuring that insurance laws are faithfully executed in Maryland. The Commissioner is appointed by the Governor for a term of 4 years. The Commissioner counsels and advises the Governor on all matters assigned to the administration. The Commissioner establishes units within the administration to carry out lines of responsibility and may reorganize these units to fulfill his or her duties effectively. Such lines of responsibility include life insurance and health insurance, property insurance and casualty insurance, audit and examination, insurance professions, consumer affairs, insurance fraud. The Consumer Affairs Unit is responsible for the Consumer Education and Advocacy Program. The Commissioner establishes regulations that are necessary to safeguard the interests of policyholders, insurers, and the public. The Commissioner also issues orders to implement provisions of the Insurance Code. Orders and notices of the Commissioner are only effective when signed by the Commissioner or by his or her authority. Every order must state its effective date, its intent or purpose, the grounds on which it is based. The order should reference the provision of the Insurance Code that supports the action proposed or taken. The order is still valid if the particular provision is not designated. In carrying out his or her duties, the Commissioner has the power to license insurance producers, approve and administer pre-licensing education programs, insurance producer licensing examinations, and continuing education programs. Participate with the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, NAIC, in a centralized insurance producer license registry in order to submit or obtain information about insurance producers, including licensing history, lines of authority, and regulatory action. Approve forms that individuals and business entities must use when applying for licenses. Authorize stock insurers and mutual insurers to issue individual and group variable life insurance contracts. Approve additional limited lines of authority in which producers may be licensed, and examine insurers and individuals to determine whether they have engaged in unfair methods of competition or deceptive acts or practices. Insurance Information and Privacy Protection, Sec. 2 to 109, D12, Comarsex. 31.16.08.00 et al. The Commissioner must establish standards governing the privacy of consumer financial and health information, which are consistent with federal law and with the provisions of the model regulation adopted by the NAIC titled Privacy of Consumer Financial and Health Information Regulation. Initial notice. When collecting or using non-public personal financial or health information, an insurer or producer is required to notify individuals about the insurer's or producer's privacy policies and practices. Describe conditions under which an insurer or producer may disclose this information to affiliated companies and non-affiliated third parties, and Provide methods for individuals to prevent an insurer or producer from disclosing this information. Annual notice required. An insurer or producer must notify its current customers of its privacy policies or practices at least once every year. Notice of right to opt out required. An insurer or producer may also be required to notify its customers of the insurer's or producer's right to disclose non-public personal financial information about the customer to non-affiliated third parties, and the customer's right to prevent this disclosure. When a customer chooses to prevent this disclosure, he or she opts out of the otherwise permissible disclosure. Exceptions to requirement for opt-out notice. In general, an insurer or producer is not required to notify customers of their right to opt out when the non-public personal financial information will be disclosed to non-affiliated third parties to perform services for the insurer or producer. However, the insurer or producer must give the initial notice about its privacy policies and practices and prohibit the third party from disclosing or using the information for other purposes. The requirements for the initial privacy notice and the right to opt out do not apply if the insurer or producer discloses non-public personal financial information to carry out a transaction that a customer requested or authorized or to perform a service for the customer at the customer's request. The requirements for the initial privacy notice and the right to opt out also do not apply when the insurer or producer discloses non-public personal financial information to prevent insurance fraud or unauthorized transactions, resolve customer disputes or inquiries, or comply with federal, state, or local laws, rules, or other legal requirements. Likewise, these requirements do not apply when the insurer or producer discloses non-public personal financial information to persons who have a legal or beneficial interest relating to the customer, persons who act as a customer's fiduciary or representative, the insurer's or producer's attorneys, accountants, and auditors, law enforcement agencies or the insurance administration. Insurance fraud, Secs. 27 to 216A, 1I, 2 to 401. Maryland has enacted anti-fraud laws to address the problem of insurance fraud in the state. The purpose of these laws is to help detect insurance fraud, improve the ability of law enforcement authorities to prevent and reduce insurance fraud, and support insurance fraud prosecution. The Insurance Fraud Division in the administration is an independent agency that is responsible for combating insurance fraud throughout the state. The Fraud Division develops statewide plans to combat insurance fraud and helps improve the administration of the insurance fraud laws. The Fraud Division is funded by assessments levied on all insurers that transact insurance in Maryland. These funds are used to support law enforcement agencies throughout the state and to educate the public about insurance fraud. An assessment may not be made until the Insurance Fraud Prevention Unit fund falls below $100,000. An individual who willfully collects a premium or charge for insurance that exceeds or is less than the premium or charge applicable to that insurance as approved by the Commissioner commits fraud. An authorized insurer, producer, or broker who in good faith has cause to believe that insurance fraud has been or is being committed must report the suspected insurance fraud in writing to the Commissioner, the Fraud Division, or the appropriate federal, state, or local law enforcement authorities. An independent insurance producer meets the reporting requirement by reporting the suspected insurance fraud in writing to the Fraud Division. For your review, the Maryland Insurance Commissioner is the head of the Maryland Insurance Administration. The Commissioner ensures that Maryland insurance laws are faithfully executed. The Commissioner examines insurers to determine whether they have engaged in unfair methods of competition or deceptive acts. The state's pre-licensing education programs, licensing examinations, and continuing education programs are administered by the Insurance Administration. The Commissioner establishes standards governing how insurers and producers treat the privacy of consumer financial and health information. When collecting or using non-public personal financial information, an insurer or producer must inform individuals about the insurer's or producer's privacy policies and practices. When a customer chooses to prevent disclosure of non-public personal financial information to third parties not affiliated with an insurer or producer, the customer opts out of the otherwise permissible disclosure. The Insurance Fraud Division in the administration works with other law enforcement agencies to combat insurance fraud throughout the state. Insurers, agents, and brokers must report suspected cases of insurance fraud to the Fraud Division.
All right, so let's see how I did on this. An insurer must notify its current customers of its privacy policies or practices at least every 12 months, I'm guessing. Which of the following is not a duty of Maryland Insurance Commissioner? Soliciting insurance contracts, I'm guessing. Which of the following is not required in order for the commissioner before it goes into effect? Grounds on what it is based. Which of the following is not a power granted to the insurance commissioner? Probably licensing, I'm guessing. All right, let's see how we did. 50%. Okay, so 12 months was correct. Enforcing insurance laws, licensing producers, examining insurers are all duties of the commissioner. The commissioner does not solicit insurance contracts. And the insurance code provision that supports it is not required in order for the action to take place. The other thing I got wrong was, which is not a power granted to the commissioner, which is prosecuting individuals for violating insurance laws. Okay, I guess that goes to the fraud. Let's see. It does not. It examines insurers to see if they engaged in unfair methods, but does not prosecute them. Oh, okay, interesting. All right, that's the end of this lesson. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.